Anyway, so today we are going to do some monochrome painting. I genuinely enjoy monochrome because they are so I don't know what it is about them that's so pleasing in different colors. It's not just black and white, but in many different ways. It's something about it that I what I love is that you can take the color out and just play with shades, and I find that that takes away a little bit of the stress of getting something right. So we often have to worry about shape, form, and then we have to worry about the color matching. So many things going on in the mind when we are trying to paint something. So a monochrome study takes color, the equation, the yeah, color out of the equation, and only leaves you with shape and shade. That's it, right? And the fact that it leaves you with only shape and shade somehow makes you a little more comfortable because it's one less thing. See, imagine if we were drawing only a outline, that's even more to the mind easier because we feel like, oh, it's just an outline. I can do an outline, right? So we don't have to worry about color, shade, nothing. So that is why I find that among paintings, monochrome usually feels a little nicer, or that way. And I won't say nicer, feels easier on the mind. So today what I've done is, as always, Aditi usually tells us to take something and study it in pencil. So today we can take one of these images, and that is why I shared a few black and white images so that we can understand that without color being in the equation, you can still capture a lot of the details. Okay, but at the same time, I've shared two images that have color. Okay, this is because we also in the end of the day need to be able to paint from something in color, right? If I'm looking at a scenery and I want to paint it monochrome, I'm not going to be, I mean, all the time be able to capture a photo, convert it to black and white, and then do the exercise, right? So while it is easy today, we can do it very easily. In fact, we should also be able to look at color and get shades out of it without changing it to black and white. So that is why I put those two images. We can try at least one. If we can both, nothing like it. But we are going to still paint it monochrome, not in color as we see it. Okay. All right. So first things first, we can just try the pear. There is a pear over there. And what I was thinking is maybe the landscape. I love monochrome landscapes a lot. So we could reserve the landscape for our final artwork, kind of, for the page. I'm thinking perhaps this one, the lighthouse. We could probably reserve the lighthouse for this side of our page. Okay, where we can place it, like mark out the rectangle and paint within it. Okay, so whatever we are trying on in terms of study, we do on the left side of the page, just so that we keep the right side now for the final painting, which is this. So to start off, let's start with this pair. Very, very simple. Okay. And if you feel like doing this in pencil, regular pencil, do it in pencil. If not, you can take color pencils. Now, color pencils, I'm giving you this option of color pencils because even color pencils are fun. You can do a lot with color pencils. So I have here this DOM set my daughter has been carrying around. And you can take any dark color. In monochrome paintings, the color you choose matters. The color you choose matters. When I say color you choose matters, because certain colors in its darkest shade is still too light. Okay, so colors like yellow. If you take yellow, if you take maybe a light pink, these kind of colors, or a light green, sap green, some kind of color like that, their darkest sap green and the darkest pink and the darkest yellow is not dark enough for our darkest shade, right? Correct? So that is why if you were to be given a choice to pick a good color for a monochrome painting, decide to take a color that can be really dark. Its lightest version you can control, but its darkest version you cannot go darker than the color itself is capable of going. Okay, so let's just take, I think maybe I'll take a blue, dark blue. So I have two blues here, okay, in pencils. So if I were given a choice for this monochrome, I would choose the darker blue, not the lighter blue. Okay. And the next step. Now, whether you take pencil or you take color pencil, remember, the first step is to make sure that we have a range. Understanding the range of your shade of a single color is very, very important before you start any piece of work. Okay. So for this example, what I will do is I will take, this is also something we have done before. We will lower this. Yeah. We will make a vertical rectangle. I'm sure many of you may have done this with regular pencil, right? And you make these boxes. You can do this with regular pencil. You can do this with color pencil. Whatever you're choosing. Let's take 5 boxes for now. And very, very lightly, almost not non-existent, we are going to shade in the first box. As light as your hand can touch. This is usually very challenging. Our hands will act up and will end up pressing the pencil in very randomly. The lightest color is always the challenge. My lightest touch. Okay. And that's my lightest touch. You can barely see it, right? It's just a bit darker than the paper itself. And that's good because you need this kind of a color. You need this kind of a color at certain places. Okay. In the next box, we are going to go in with a little bit more pressure. Just a wee bit more, okay? And let's see if we can just make that wee bit more can be adjusted well, because this adding of pressure, no? Usually we tend to add pressure a bit too much. So let's okay. Now this may look like the same color to you, but if you look closely, there is a slight change in the depth of the color. Okay. Next box, little more pressure. Pressure is not always the thing that is required for. Having said that, I mean, this is something you should remember, especially with pencils. Pressure is not the only thing that makes the pencil darker. The other thing that makes the pencil darker is repeated action at the same place. So if you rub your pencil at the same place a few more times than you did earlier, you are likely to get a darker color, even though it's the same pressure. That's simply because graphite or whatever it is, whatever material you're using, is getting deposited more and more. And the more it gets deposited, the darker it gets. So not always pressure. I'm just going over a little more because I don't want to increase the pressure anymore. I just want to get this darker shade with repeated action.
Susan, your video is little out of focus.
Out of focus?
I mean, I can't see it clearly.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's better.
The problem is no, also I have spotty internet. Let me just get one more hotspot going.
It's also very soft.
Very soft. She's speaking very softly.
Audio is not close to the mouth. No, that is it.
Not too loud, is it?
No,
You're
you're
soft.
soft.
I'm on full volume.
Oh, really? I'm soft,
Very-
huh? Okay, okay.
That's okay. Maybe just a little further away from the mic, probably. That's why.
No, no. So what I'll do is I have two mic. I have two mics. I have the mic on the laptop as well as the one
Okay.
over here in front of me, and I'll put this one on. So I should be more, or I should be better loud. Yeah.
Much, much better.
Okay, is this better?
It's a little fuzzy. I don't know why. Little-
Hold on. Huh? No, no, I'm not the internet. Sorry, it was my volume. I was just trying to adjust my volume first. Hold on. Huh? Internet, I still have to put on my other hotspot.
Yeah, yeah, your voice is much better. Wait, it's
Much
just
better. Okay.
sometimes comes into focus and then goes out again. There's
We're
one
getting a
spot
message
which
on
is
network.
good.
Susan Matthew Fernandez network bandwidth is low. That's the message I'm
I know.
receiving.
Correct, correct. So let me just change network. This is the problem with not being at home.
Yeah.
I don't like network outside of Bombay. It's so okay. Is this done now? Is my screen? Oh, it's not visible. Is it visible? Yeah. Okay. My screen should be visible now on the computer internet. Oh, just so.
Then it's okay, Susan. We just have to shade. We'll grumble about
Yeah,
it.
we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
manage.
It's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just see if you can make the screen size bigger. That may help.
Yeah. I will have to just zoom down. Hold on. Where is it still showing? Too many gadgets also is really not a kind of low. Unstable. Wonderful. I have no idea why things are the way they are, but we'll continue. So as I get darker now, I'm sure you guys have finished the stage of things. You will start to realize that the pencil, even though we've taken this blue color, I've taken blue, I noticed that the pencil is not able to get darker than a certain point. So your last block, wherever that be, now it's not necessary that you should have only 5 different shades. Huh? You can have 7, 8, 10, how many ever you want. But your last block should have the darkest possible shade your pencil could get. Okay, so this is my 4th shade. And finally, let's see if I can get a nice... Yeah, this is the darkest. I can't get darker than this with the pencil. It becomes a combination of pressure and repeat action. Huh? Okay. So once this exercise is done, you have understood your medium a little better than before you did it, right? And once you have this kind of a range, you will know which one to apply when you are doing your the actual piece that you are illustrating. So here in this case, we're illustrating the pear and keep it here. Let's just draw the shape of the with whatever pencil we have used for this gradient. Okay. Just a light outline, and this is only for you to see. Don't worry if, I mean, even if you don't see mine, don't worry. You are looking at your own image and try and draw very, very light outline, because there are certain portions in this image that are almost white. And if you draw a thick, dark outline, what's going to happen is this white, we won't be able to catch the goodness of this white. Okay, it'll be a stark dark line coming in the way. So to draw as lightly as you can. Let's not worry too much about the shape or if it's come right or not. Here we are trying mostly to understand the shading. Okay, so a pear is a pear. We'll try and get it, of course, as close as possible to what we're seeing. Sorry about that. Having a nightmare. Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back. Okay, so what I will do, no, because I have the spotty internet, is from time to time I'll take a photo and send it on the group. Okay, so you know where I am. And And you can see clearly also what is happening. Okay. Basic shape is easy. After that, let's get to the shading. Start with the lightest part. Always the lightest. And that is this portion here. On this side of the pear, we see very little shading, very little. So at those places, start with your lightest hue, lightest shade. And you can leave white spaces. So white is also a shade. Huh? But make sure that whatever is adjacent to white is this lightest shade that you are putting in. When you are moving from one shade to another, instead of pressing down, consider using the approach of repeated coverage, meaning go over that area a few more times and see whether that would deepen your shader. Try not to press down, because the moment you press down, you can't really take back the shade that you put. It's already become a little too dark. Okay. So repeated action is probably a good way to darken. Now, after this much, I'm able to see that I've gotten the lightest shade. Let me just show you. Can't see. Can you see? That's all I did. So I've left white spots, and my lightest shade, I've got this much in. Now, slowly for the next part, I will sketch over, but a few more times to get it a little darker. Put an image so you can see how light it is. I've always wondered why Aditi would make us do pencil sketching in the beginning. I mean, I know it's good to have a good hand at pencil, but what I've realized with the pencil is that it allows you to, it's like the simplest form of applying shade. Because with watercolor, we have to worry about getting the dilution right to get the shade, right? So there is one component, which is the shade itself. The other component is getting the pigment to water ratio correctly so that I get the shade. Here, on the other hand, it is just pressure. Pressure and maximum how many times you go over it. So it basically, it keeps the control completely with you, right? Not that watercolor, in watercolor also the control is with you only, but the point is that water makes all the difference. Here, your pressure and your movement makes all the difference, and that therefore it feels more, you know, more within your control. I feel. So it does make sense that we understand all this at this level with a pencil. But truth be told, I don't enjoy pencil. I always tell her that I do it because you tell me to do it. If you were to leave me to my devices, I would forget the pencil existed. Now on the left side, I have left a slight white sliver, which you will also be able to do very easily. Now what's the problem? This may have been better with a normal pencil. Starting to feel like it would have been better with a normal pencil. Our notebooks are great for pencils, by the way, because there is not much of a tooth or grain to drawing paper. Let me speed this up a bit. Mind you, I have only reached the number 2 level of my shape chart here. I still have to go through 3 levels. Has anyone finished, or am I the only one who's lagging behind like this?
All struggling away, dear.
I also found a lot in what Aditi used to say about keeping your reference picture in the same plane as your drawing, so that you lose less in translation. Very, very true. By the
Yeah,
time my head has
mine up
moved
on
up
a
and down
stand in
towards the
front.
screen on top.
You're right.
Yeah.
You have a stand in front, but I do lose a lot of looking down and up and down and up.
Yeah. A lot of little things in life. Actually, it's these kind of things that make all the difference. We don't realize. And we don't give it the value when we don't know. We think, oh, well, what's a big deal? How can it make such a big difference? Now I notice that I have a base here that is quite dark. And in addition to the base, I also have a shadow, a really dark shadow that is merging with the darkness of the base. Sometimes we get dark when we put our darkest shades, when we realize, oh, there were these in-between shades that I did not even notice. So you can go back and darken lighter parts. And the other thing I'm missing here is putting a timer to our work, because now we're going to end up taking far too much time to do this. So if you've understood the general concept, we can probably finish our pair later and continue with our other images. We put in this bit. Okay. I'm going to stop. I can go on doing this for another half an hour. So let's stop here and see whether we've got a more or less what we're trying to get from this exercise. If we've been able to achieve, we can move to the next step. Trying this in watercolor. So let's just take a photo of this, show you where I'm at. Okay. So
Susan, now I've left white on one edge, but the white will only show if the background is a little dark. Otherwise, it looks like no edge at all. So what does one do about that? Just shade in a little bit of the background around the white of the pair?
okay. Next part, we'll take there is the option of a flower. There is option of this landscape. So I was just thinking, let's just do this as the first example with watercolor, because this is rather simple. And this also captures a bit of detail about a landscape that is very important to keep in mind when you're doing monochrome. Objects that you will notice here, these are a set of hills, okay? Each one further away from the other. But what you will notice is in landscapes, this is a common thing. Objects that are in closest to you be darker in color. And as this object goes further and further away, now if that could be the case for trees, that could be the case for mountains here, or even for that matter, water body. If you notice something is going further and further away from you, that object usually gets a little lighter. The same object placed closer to you will be darker, the silhouette. Now, remember, this is largely silhouette kind of dark and light. So the silhouette of an object closest to you will be darker. And as it goes further and further away, it will be lighter. we are capturing this in watercolor now, and we can take any color. Let's take, what I want to do is, I want you to understand that because watercolor is a semi-transparent medium, we have to keep in mind that light to dark is the only way we can go. We cannot go the opposite way. If you were to do the same landscape in acrylic or in any other darker medium, opaque medium, it is fine to do it in any order you'd like to do. If you feel like you want to do the dark first over here, then put the lighter afterwards, it's absolutely possible, but not so in watercolor. So let's take another color. Let's take crimson. Again, I'm looking for a dark color. My water bottle. Since we all have crimson, I'm going to now, before we do this, let's do the same exercise we did with the pencil. Basically, let's make a little bit of a shade chart. Okay. So I'm going to take crimson. Take this out on your palette. Very, very important, because we are starting with a wash. And for a wash, you cannot directly take from the cakes. Okay. So let's start with a wash. And here we are going to make a rectangle like this. We're going to make a sleeping rectangle. Okay. We start with the light color, the lightest we can. And then we can darken. That means now we are adding a little more pigment. With watercolor, you can do the opposite also. Huh? So first we are, of course, doing it this way. But dark to light is very easy to make your shade chart. Getting darker. And finally, towards the end, it is only pigment. Okay. Running on absolutely pigment, no, almost no water, just enough water to make it spread. Now, this is the darkest my crimson can get. The darkest my crimson can get. Look at the crimson in your palette. It may seem that it could have gone darker, but actually when we paint, this is the darkest it can get. This exercise can be done the other way I was telling you. If you take crimson directly from the palette and apply it like this. Now I'm not going to take any more crimson. What I'm going to do is simply take a little more water. I'm diluting it and making it light. No more pigment, just letting the pigment that is already in the brush do its job. Water, that's it. See? Getting light already. Dip in water. Clean your brush, dip in water again. And that's it. Little longer than the earlier shade chart, but you will get it a better shade chart this way because you're diluting it and reducing it. Okay, so this helps us understand how deep our crimson color can get and how light it can get. Having done that, let us look at this example here of the mountains. Okay. Here, you are going to put one layer of wash consistency, okay, as your first layer. So let's just follow the shape of the mountain here. See, our mountain goes this way. Don't worry if your shape looks different from what is there in the picture, not concerned. All we want to do is show the lightest shade A lot of monochrome paintings go well on watercolor paper because it involves layer on layer, and our regular paper can't take that much of layering of watercolor. So don't worry about it. We can still do it. It's not that we can't. This layer has to dry before you go into the next. So what many people will tell you to do is just complete the whole thing. Let's make the entire thing in watercolor wash. Okay, this is the actual picture. Let's make the whole thing in a wash. Big brush for this. Just remember, because I don't have a big in this size. If you have a size 10, size 8, please use those. The picture here actually has a little darkness on one side. So if you want to capture that, it's not, you can actually do this. Go over this, okay, this right side, and let the brush come down. As it comes down, pigment will reduce. The tone will get lighter, such that on the left side, now you have a really light tone. Second step, we have to wait for this to dry. So while we're waiting for this to dry, let's go to the left side and mark off our, do you have masking tape? Does everyone have, if not masking, sorry, washi tape or something? If you have washi tape, let's mark off the portion we have to do for our lighthouse. Not very big, huh? Great. Keep that ready for our lighthouse. Okay, going back to our second layer of mountains. Now a slightly darker consistency of pigment. And we will start from this corner here. The second mountain is actually a little low. Look at the shape. Okay. Fill in the rest of the space with that same color. And once again, as we come to this corner, we will notice getting lighter, which is fine. This is what we want. flattening the brush may help. If you don't have, like me, if you don't have a fat brush, just use the flat of your existing brush and fill in. Now, while this dries, let's draw the outline of our lighthouse. In pencil, normal pencil. I'm using a mechanical pencil. I'm going to hold it here. Is it still bright? So what we have here is just a wee bit more than the size of the actual image here, which I have on my phone. Okay. Yeah. So let's draw in with a pencil. Roughly half mark. See, this is my half mark. Yeah. So roughly at this point. And so if this is half, this is about 1/3 of the half. This is half, 1/3 of the half. So I'm going to start my ground here. A little mound and slightly upward. Next to that is a house. So let's draw the outline of the house. Basic outline, just a basic outline. Don't get into too much detail. Remember, we are not worried about the detail at the moment. We are trying to just get our shades correct for a monochrome landscape. So don't worry too much about the details on the house. House is a chimney. I will put that in. And has one more here. That's another thing to put in. Oh, the chimney is a little tall. I didn't see the white. It's a little tall. Fine. Two windows. A door over here. That's it. I'm not going into more detail than this. Next to this is the base of the now how high does this go? Just do a rough eyeball the picture and see how high it would go. I'm just trying to estimate. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Little. This would be about 1/3 of the picture, and then this would be another 1/3. So somewhere little over 1/3 of the actual height of the sheet you have here. So my sheet's 1/3 would be somewhere here. And mark that spot. Now let's go to that point without too much of a slant. So there's not much of a slant. It's a mild slant. And same way, a slant on the other side, which starts from here and goes up to this point. Okay. Now the curve, the first curve that we see, it's a curve. It's a very slight curve. So please don't draw this flat. Just keep that in mind, because this is a curved object itself. I mean, the building itself is curved. Try to capture the mild curve that you see on this line. It's a mild curve. So don't draw it flat. It changes the picture when you draw it flat. Slight curve. Followed by a vertical portion. And yet another curve. So now this curve is getting a little more curvy. As it gets further and higher, it will look more curvy to us. Then there is this vertical section on top, which also has a curve. Wow, lots of curves. Followed by the glass. And a roof. Oops, I'm going way past my. So for my convenience, instead of erasing anything, I'm going to simply adjust the length over here, right? And finish what looks like the top of this lighthouse. Over here, we have vertical lines to indicate the window or the panes. There is a fire, or a light source over here. Leave that. There is a rim, like a place for people to stand. There is the same sort of a rim over here for people to stand. Draw that in. Now this is all not going to look very evident because it's all going to be dark, but let's just draw it in. Over here, we have some curvy portions that show the support. Okay. And then we have a window here. Keep that simple. And that's it. Bottom of the window has a bit of a ledge. Leave that. Okay. Now I'm not going in and putting this little bit of information. It's not going to add much value. So I'm leaving that out. Okay. We're keeping this simple. Okay. Let's go back to our red, crimson, second round of crimson, third round of crimson, sorry. And this time we are reaching something like this color here, somewhere here. Okay. Start from this corner. Because we are going to now get more, when you're painting these bigger sections, remember that you have to make enough paint. Otherwise, like me, you'll be struggling at the end to recreate the same shade that you wanted. So make enough paint. Okay. I'm going to paint this in. And here, don't add too much pigment. Add water to your paint and continue. Because the mountain over here is getting quite blurred. How does it get blurred? How do you show the blurring? Basically, when you add water, you will reach the color that was previously there, right? You will eventually reach the color of the previous layer. And when you reach that color, it will dry light and it will merge as if it's one. Since we are, let's quickly go back. I'm jumping around a lot between two pictures. I hope that's not too much for anyone. I'm just trying to optimize on time. Okay. because there is some amount of drying time and I don't want to, hurry up and not get the lines between the two. Okay, let's just analyze our picture because this is not black and white. And so we have to make for ourselves some judgment on shades. Everyone agrees the darkest is this part. The darkest you'll ever get for this monochrome painting is right here on the top. There is also a similar dark at the windows, okay, at the doors, at the windows. And the next layer of dark, which is not so dark, is here at the tip of your ground. Because the ground over there is dark, we are going to keep our second level of dark over here. Slightly lighter, but not as dark as that jet black over there on top. Next, what is the next dark shade? Okay, so we're going to call this dark 1. Getting lighter will be dark 2. The roof and some parts of the sky, some parts, just these dark portions, are going to be dark 3. Okay, so I'm just, what color? Let's just make our shade chart so then we have a clear idea. What color shall we do this in?
Let's do it in Aditi's gray.
No problem.
Sienna and ultramarine,
yes,
or whatever that.
Yes, good idea, good idea. So I'm going to make Aditi's gray. If you have a slightly bigger brush, please feel free to use it. I don't have one and I'm not enjoying working with this small brush. I'll change my brush to another type of brush. Where is my... There. Okay, I'll change to another type of brush. So Aditi's gray is burnt umber. On your palettes, it will be burnt umber, mix burnt umber with ultramarine blue. On my palette, it's here. I don't know. I have a feeling this palette, even though it is the Camlin one, is arranged differently from everyone's palette. So I'm going to just tell you the name. The name is ultramarine blue. So find it on your palette and mix it with brown. And you get this yeah, you get the shade of gray that I call Aditi's gray. Okay. If you want to deepen the shade of gray, and we will need to do it for the darkest part, put a little bit of black in it. Very little. We are not wanting to make it jet black. Huh? That's why the whole point of gray is because we do not want a jet black. So let's have this corner where we put in just a bit of black as it is. So we have our darkest shade. So while we are waiting for this to dry, we will now make a shade chart. Start with the darkest shade you just now made. Put that down. And let's label it. Ultramarine blue plus burnt umber plus black. Okay. We are going to, I'm just going to call this our number 1 shade. Our number 1 shade will go at the, oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I'm not visible at all. Look at me. I'm moving the book around. Is it too zoomed? Should I zoom out a bit? Because, like,
It's just right.
yeah, it's okay. Okay, right. I don't want to miss out something I don't realize. Yeah. Next, we're going to go in with a slightly lighter shade. So we take it from the middle section now. Now we take from the middle section, which was just ultramarine blue and gray. And brown, sorry, brown without the black. Okay, let's make that shade here. And you can straight away see it does not have that the blackness that came from putting just a little bit of black into this mixture. Straight away it looks a bit gray. So this is the same thing. I'm just going to say without black. Now, our remaining shades are all going to be made from this shade, but by adding a little bit of water. We are not doing anything else. We are simply adding water to the existing shade and making lighter tones. I've just watered it down. Huh? You still see a little bit of a blob. Just dry your pen, your brush, and pick it up. Huh? If you feel that blob is hovering around. Okay. So now we've reached a shade 2. Oops. A shade 2, a shade 3, and we put in a little more water and get our shade 4, which is now looking really good gray, like a gray we like to put on shadows and things like that. Yeah. See, these blobs will keep coming. Huh? Don't worry about them. Over time, either they will, as they dry, disperse into the remaining color, or you can pick it up with a dry brush and it will go off. It'll be fine. Finally, our lightest shade will be almost just dipping in water. That's it. Whatever pigment is there, it's there. That's it. We're not going to worry about dipping it in actual paint. I think I cleaned my brush off a little too much. Become very light. I could have had a shade in between. But it's okay. We get the point, right? So let's, while that is drying, so we've got 3, 4, and 5. And then there's one more shade. One more shade that we must not forget. What is that? White. Yes. Paper white is also a color, and we must factor that in. Okay. And we are going to factor that in right here on our object in focus, which is so paper white is a very important color here. We're going to maintain paper white and then go into a light shade on one side. So keep that in mind, okay? So don't start coloring directly with the lightest shade. We have to shade it into paper white. All right, back to our last layer. Last layer of mountains. Yes, last layer of mountain. I'm going in with crimson. There is. Okay, this mountain layer starts over here at the edge. It goes down here. Now I'm taking crimson literally from the cake. Or it's from the cake I'm taking the crimson color because I want it at its darker shade. And as I come down, I fill in all the remaining places because there is no lightness in the darkest shade here. There is no lightness. So use the crimson almost from the cake itself with just enough water for it to spread. And that's it. Once you get your outermost shape, the rest of it is actually quite simple. right? It's easy to fill this up. Now, when you do these kind of monochrome activities, you will slowly start to realize which colors you like best for monochrome. Okay. And that is something you have to figure out yourself. Which ones do you like for monochromes?
You shift the book a bit up.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the only difference I personally find between pencil and watercolor is that you have to wait for dry. There is drying time involved when you are layering one shade over another. If you're not layering one shade over another, you can definitely proceed. There is no problem. Okay. With pencil color, there is no drying time. You just keep going, keep going. Okay. On to our masterpiece. And let us hope it is going to be a masterpiece. Elaine, this is where we're going to challenge ourselves to make regular paper work like watercolor paper. Okay. I find it
Yesterday, Neeta asked me, Are we are not using 300 GSM. I said, no, we aren't. We are using 180. And you better get used to that. You were just saying that. I said, might as well learn on this. Then 300 will be wonderful.
yeah.
I gave her your spiel.
Yeah. Video on. Yeah. That, don't worry. It really bothered me a lot initially, but now I take it up as a challenge. And so what if it's a little patchy? That's fine. Those of you who like loose painting, okay, there are lots of artists who paint very, very in a very loose style. You will realize that they actually love their patches. They love to have cauliflower blooms. They love to have these patchy things where the paint is not mixing well, where the paint is, where the flaw of the paper is highlighted. They quite enjoy it. So it all depends on, like, you embrace the flaws. It's something like that. You embrace the flaws of the paper or the pigment or just yourself because you're not able to entirely get your control over that medium. So don't worry about it. Enjoy it. And as you do more and more, you will start to realize, oh, well, on this paper, let's not add so much water. Maybe we should just make it less watery and less pigment. That's the way to control it, right? On a watercolor paper, we are so liberal with our water. We just go ahead and put, okay, chalo, you want light? Come on. Dump in a bunch of amount of water and there you go. There's my light. My paper can take it. But here I can't do, I can't be, I have to be judicious with the amount of water I put on a regular paper. So don't worry about that. Okay. Let us start with the sky. Now, why I'm saying start with the sky is because it will help us isolate this white column that we need to leave paper white for now. Okay. So for the sky, if I look at my gradients on the side, okay, this is going to be my number one is definitely my, the top and these dark areas. Then the roof over here is definitely my number two. And then my number three, somewhere between 3 and 4 is my sky, right? So sky has to be somewhere between 3 and 4. We are going to have to blend 3 and 4 in the top part. At the bottom of sky, we are reaching number 5, correct? Okay, keep this in mind. Why? Because that means our base coat for sky has to be number 5. We are working backwards. Remember that. Okay, so sky is now number 5. We start with 5 and we drop in 4 and 3 at the places where 4 and 3 should show up. Make sense? Does it make sense? So That means on our palette, we need to cover this entire space of sky with a number 5, which means make enough number 5 and keep it ready, because later on you're not going to be able to do it. So I'm just going to make some space on my palette. I need a little bit of number 5. I'll just give me one moment. I'll just change the water. The water has become so muddy. It's going to affect my grays. The water itself is a shade of gray. Yeah, definitely want clean water for this. All right, number 5. Number 5 is going to be water and a little bit of the reddy gray. That's my number 5. Okay, so it's a wash. One more thing I would recommend is, because now this is just an observation, you will notice that the sky is lightest at the bottom and then it's getting darker because of the clouds and whatever else is in the sky. So let us have the paint also move in that direction, which means if we paint upward, our paint is going to likely pull down again. So let's flip our picture over. Flip our picture over such that we have a slight incline this way on top. Okay, now we're going to paint downward. Is it making sense? Okay. We're going to paint downward so that the water, whatever color pools, let it pool on the top part of my picture, and that will look normal. It'll be perfectly fine. So if you want to keep your picture upside down, that is also a great idea. Okay, because sometimes our minds don't translate what we see upside down. So I'm going to keep my picture upside down and start with a wash. Be very careful not to touch the body of the lighthouse. Keep the body of the lighthouse white. Similarly, next to this house over here, keep the body of the house untouched. The roof is actually dark. There is no problem in touching it, but we will end up going over the chimney, and I don't want to go over the chimney. Okay, so that's it. Start moving downward. And as we move downward, let's take some gray from the other side. Okay. This is just a wash, remember. This is wash consistency. Let's get a little darker. Okay. Put in a little more gray and get even darker here. Now, this point, be very careful. After this railing here, do you notice that there is some sky visible on either side? Where the railing, where, you know, this part here where my pen is pointing. Now, there is a rail over there, guard rail, but it is still showing you the sky. So make sure that the sky comes in a bit over here. See? It may be a little challenging to do later on. So try to bring in that sky over here. And now we don't have to get darker. In fact, we can get a little lighter here and there. So let's not add any more pigment. If you want, wet your brush a little bit with water. Where is our lining getting over? 1 minute, hold on. Here. This is where the black line gets over. So all this is going to be sky. I'm going in with water now. No more adding more pigment. Just dragging down everything with a little bit of water. Go over the, leave a little bit of white inside the center over here because we want to show the lighter. And go over the roof. Don't worry about the roof. Go over it. Happily, no problem. Because the black can go over that. So don't feel bad that you've painted that in. Okay, so we've got a bit of a gradient. Now, while the paint is wet, don't slow down. While the paint is wet, let's add in key portions that are darker. This is important. If we can do it while the paint is wet, our blending will be a lot better than okay. So this part is a little dark. I bring that in. Then over here, I have dark patches. And if the blooms come, don't worry. Now, what I've done is, by the way, over here, no, at the bottom, I'm seeing a few patches here. Now, if I go in with a very dark color, it's going to be just obnoxious. So go in with this same wash, the same wash that you started this part, no? It's ready here, no? It's already here. That same wash, just go in a second time. It's so light. It feels like you're not really adding anything much to this. But don't worry. That second round of wash on top is going to add some darkness. The same color is going to add some darkness because we went in a second layer. This is the same concept as rubbing the pencil in the same place again and again. The repeated rub is going to cause. Now see, it looks patchy. So wherever it's patchy, dry your brush fully. And with your dry brush, blur out these patches. Don't worry about that. Dry your brush again and blur out these patches. That's it. If you want to rinse your brush and then try drying it and then blending, go ahead, do that. That's it. And let's not worry. Our sky is definitely looking like it has some character. Now I'm going to flip it over. Let's look at it. Is it as disastrous? Yep. Just as disastrous as I expected. Don't worry. Leave it. This is the point where it's so hard to leave. Very, very hard to leave. Right? You want to do just a little bit more. What if I just blend this and blend that and blend this, and before you know it, paper's coming off. Leave it. Now we'll go on to the parts that are dry. Okay, so I'm going to flip my picture over. Let's go to the parts that are dry. Let's start with this part. Oh, sorry. This part. Over here, we are going in with a number 4. Sorry, number 2. Okay, number 2. This is how dark we want it, which is basically, what was it? It was only gray. Only burnt umber and ultramarine blue. No black. Okay, and let's start putting in the detail here. Oh, sorry, I said we were going to do the bottom. Let's just do this. Okay, so we are putting in the detail here. There's a little color here. The darkest shade is on the top of the roof, so just start with the top of the roof. And as you go lower, don't add more color. Don't add more pigment. Just go down with the color that you have. What will happen is it will cause the color to get a little lighter as you go lower. and we want that effect. See, there's a window here. Just go lighter. I did not take any more pigmenter, by the way. The same color can be extended here on this side. Okay. The same color goes here, I see. Some parts of the window here. Definitely the inner part of the window here. Only ultramarine blue and burnt umber. A thin brush now because we're adding details. A little bit of color here, windows. And finally, we are going to do the ground. The ground. Now keep a little bit of wash color ready. Number 4. This number 4 ready. Okay, keep it ready because we're going to need it when we reach the base. Start with number 3 over here. Number 3. And then go in with number 4, which is the wash that you have. Okay, that's your number 3. Rinse off your brush and do this. Now this side, if I come and touch it before this has dried, it will blend. So let's just leave it only this hillock. All of this is going to dry quite fast, so we can proceed to other parts. Now, the white of this tower, look carefully at this picture. If you look at your own picture, you will notice that the left side has a very clear gray. And we have to show this gray because just leaving it white over here is not going to give you that effect. Now, if you look at conical objects, you will notice that conical objects have a shade on the curve, the part of the eye that is seeing the curve of the object, right? Is my video in focus? Sorry. Have we lost my video? No. I think the spotlight went off. Okay. Am I still audible? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So what was I talking about? Yeah, the conical aspect of this column. So remember that in this photo, even though both sides should ideally have the shade of gray, the sun is actually shining on this side, on the left side. And so the shadow is greater on the right side. So we are not going to add the shadow here. We are going to add the shadow only on the right side. Okay. So to add the shadow, let's make the number 5 color, which is a wash gray. Number 5 color, wash gray. Okay. And with this wash gray, we apply a layer on the rightmost side of the column. Apply a vertical line like this. Okay, fairly thick. The next thing you do, rinse off your brush, rinse it off, dry it up, and then use your dry brush to blend in this color here. Just move it inward and it will dry off. That's it. So what's going to happen basically is now you have a shade on the right side, but the white of the left is still very much there. Okay. So now the image starts to look a little cylindric. Now we can go in with our darkest shades on top. But before we go in with the darkest shade, let's add the with a number 4. No, number 2. Number 2, with this shade. Let's add all the outlines. Meaning, we see these railings? See the railings? I don't want to mark all the railings in black because they're very, very fine lines. And if we mark in black, the top of the thing is going to look very, very jarringly dark. So take a fine brush, and with the fine brush, take your number 4 gray, number 2 gray, and just draw in all the lines that you see. So I'm seeing lines over here like this. See? All these lines, let's go in with the gray, not the darkest shade, just the gray. Then the grill, over here there's a grill, and the grill has some lines. Okay. And then there's a horizontal line here, and a horizontal line here. And then there's a shape of the inside light. See? All this detail, add with the same shade, you will have to apply over here. Now, can you see? Look in your picture carefully and see if you can see a gray. Can you see a gray? Oops. Can you see this gray, which is underneath, which you are seeing through the glass? Remember, we have to put that in also. So let's put that slightly different shade, different shape. Let's put that in. Okay. Now the remaining lines are over here. You can draw this in here like this, but we are going to deepen the color later. This is the railing I want to cover. I definitely want to put this railing in with gray. Don't worry about the rest of it. Here, there is definitely a railing, which I want to. Now here, there is some grays. 1, 2. This part is dark. And there is a gray. And that's it. Where else can you see that kind of a gray? You can see that gray over here as well. On one side of your window, this is the left side, there is that dark gray. There is a gray here. See, the moment we add these details, your picture starts to get some character. So with this detail, remember, you're going in with this detail with a fine pen, fine brush. Now I can see the same sort of gray over here for the okay. We have a door and some detail here. All this is gray. Now this door, no, I'm noticing that it is getting lighter as it goes lower. So let's just clear off the ink on our brush and lighten it with water. See? Just lighten it a bit. Add some shading. There's a gray here, there's a gray here. Overall, I've got most of the grays. Now we also want to finish off this little bit of ground with a wash. Clear off your brush, paint. Now remember one thing, when you're going back to washes regularly, remember to clean your brush up, because this gray has a tendency to stay in your brush. You may think you're touching wash color, but actually it is the gray that's already in your brush is also contributing to the color that you find. So please, before going in with the wash color, always rinse out your brush nicely. Okay. Just look once more at this picture. You will notice, I was telling you the sun is shining on this part of the lighthouse, but the same part of the house also is bright, which means this side is going to be slightly bit darker. Okay. So I again take the wash and I put the wash over here on this facing this wall of the house. I put a wash. What happens is now suddenly the house has dimension. Otherwise the house is looking fully white. But now the house has dimension. The same way we have added dimension to the lighthouse. So remember to add a wash to the wall of the house on this side. You could do a mild wash over here. I'm seeing that it's not entirely white. So I'm just putting a mild wash. You cannot see it on my paper. Leave it. It's okay. Even if you don't put it, it's fine. I just like that cylindrical look. It's so good. All right. What are we left with? Finally, the darkest of dark. Take your finest pen brush. Go in with now number 1, which is made right here on top. I've made and kept. Burnt umber, ultramarine blue, and black. And let's add in all this. First, apply to the darkest portions. Then as the pigment in your brush starts to wear out, we'll go back and put the slightly less darker parts. So I'm putting the darkest parts first. Pigment is maximum in my brush. I'm putting the darkest at these portions. All these circular places have got really dark color. Okay. And after I have done this, I will go and put in the remaining. So at this point, you're going over some of the paintings that you have made, some of the lines and railings that you have made, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. That's how the picture is. You're not going to see the railings very clearly, and that's fine. Over here, be careful. Remember, we have this portion, which is definitely dark. And then we have white portion. So don't forget to leave that white. There is some curvy thing here, which is a beam. Same thing here, a beam. Yeah, those kind of details are nice to capture. What else? One line over here. Okay. Any more darks that we are missing? I will put one dark line over here because this window I really want that highlight. Similarly, on this part of the house, of the roof, there is a darkness, a shadow. So put that little bit over here. Okay. Over here also I notice a little bit at the base of this roof. I'd like to line the top of the roof with the same dark color, just the top, so that the roof stands out a bit. Now here I have one dark line on the left. All fine work. Huh? Now under the roof, see, look at a picture. Can you see there's a slight darkness at the base of this roof? Try to capture that data. These small details really make a difference. See, right now the roof is looking okay, like dark and light, roof and wall. But the moment we put one single line of darkness under it, it becomes beautiful. Makes all the difference. Now my paint also has become kind of over. So if you have to replenish. Now the small details. See, some people may choose to do this in pen. If you want to do it in pen, you're absolutely welcome to do it in pen. Don't worry. Brush control at this level is really tough. No, I forgot this part. Huh? We have darkness here. Forgot. Yeah? Forgot about this. Let me go in with a little. There you go. Okay. Now, small strokes to show grass. This has to be with the shade number 2 or a number 1, if depends on how thick your brush is. If it's not very, if it's not thin enough, use number 2. Don't use number 1 at all. Just at a few places, not everywhere. We can't draw all the grass that we are seeing. But do the grass that is on top first, because it is the darkest grass that you will see. And as you come lower, or as you finish your top portions, you can come in with your lighter paint. See, already paint is a little lighter. And do in the finer details here. See, paint has become so much lighter now. And that's what you want. You want lightness for these pictures. Now, this is a not your regular kind of photography, huh, by the way. In normal photography, if this is all going to be grass, the grass that was closest should have been darker. But the grass on top seems to be a different type of grass altogether. That is why it's darker, even though it's far away. Just keep that in mind. It's just they're different grass, not the same grass. Thin brush strokes. Now I will also rinse my brush. I don't want so much of pigment. And with my shade like number 4, I'll put some grass on this side. Can you even see it? I'm not sure you can see it. But that's the whole point. We don't want this grass to be seen so distinctly. Okay. I will do one last thing, which I want to do only because I'm not getting the effect I want. And that is with a thin, this thing, number 3 or number 4, up to you. Put a little bit of a line here. I'm not able to see that line very clearly. It's a tricky thing because it can get too dark, no, then the effect is not good. It's very thin line. I put it and then I felt it took away from the picture. So I took it off again. Shadow, shadow. Not happy with the shadow here. Yeah. Monochrome. We've got most of the details, so I'm not going to go into too much more here. Now, if we take this off, with just a gray, mind you, you can do an entire scenery. Doesn't that look nice? I know we're 13 minutes over time, but if you get the time, try to attempt the pumpkin. The pumpkin here that I've shown you here, okay, is a lovely exercise for monochrome because every curve here, you have to balance out dark to light, dark to light, dark to light at every one of these curves. And that is really pretty, right? So you are trying to show darkness on one side, lightness on the other side. Then comes the next sliver. Again dark, again light, again dark, again light. So remember, if you are doing them like you're applying your dark and lightening it on the right side, don't do the next adjacent sliver immediately. Wait for it to dry and do another part. You can do another curve. Okay. So see if you can attempt this pumpkin in yet another shade. We've done gray, we've done blue with pencil, we've done pink, maroon, sorry, crimson. How about a green? Take your darkest green, I think emerald green or some, which is this green? I forget what it's called.
Viridian.
Ah, viridian. That's it.
The one that
Take
Aditi
viridian.
hates most.
Yes. And why don't we just do something absolutely
And
dinchak with
Milind
it?
loves the most.
Oh, he loves this?
He
Viridian?
uses it in
Sorry.
every dark, close by tree, which is right in your face, is viridian, and it gives that beautiful foreground.
Very
Marvelous.
nice. Oh, I didn't know this. So why not use viridian? Figure out the shades and see how dark it goes, and then do the pumpkin in viridian. Not a bad
Okay.
idea.
So my
Viridian or even
foreground,
brown? How's
foreground
yours?
is very bad.
No, don't worry,
Susan.
don't worry. Don't
It's
worry.
really messed up, but have a look anyway.
Let me just pin it up. Hold on. I can't see him too. Oh no. Yeah, I see what you're saying about the left side. And yeah, so this is
It's the
this is the challenge
foreground,
of the paper.
Susan.
Yeah.
That you
Oh,
know
the
that.
foreground. Oh, the bottom.
Yeah, the
Oh.
bottom, which I got really
Oh.
dark, and now it's like I don't know. It's just stuck in front of. It's like very much closer to me, and then I'm seeing this house over the ridge. You know what I mean? It's
I
like
know.
very far away.
Correct. So yeah, so the depth you brought into the front got a little too dark.
Too much.
And so, yeah, but it is a great example for us to understand how much dark can make perception of
Yes.
depth change,
Yes.
right?
Because this is as if
Yeah.
I'm standing on the foreground almost.
Yes,
I'm looking at
exactly.
this in the distance.
That's right. That's exactly it. So good. I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, I know it's ruined things for you, but it's a great example of how the sense of depth changes because a darkness or lightness we put in has changed it. Yeah,
Right.
good, very nice. But you've got your lighthouse super. I like the shade on the right of the light. The curve of the lighthouse is very nice. Very nice.
Ew,
You got the lighthouse
it's
very nice.
chopped in by the sky in a lot of places.
No.
Sky is encroached on the side. It's become a very curvy lighthouse, but
Curvy lighthouse.
yeah, very curvy.
No, good. So, Elaine, if you want, you can take this very thin brush and apply like a number 3 kind of thin line to reclaim the
sky.
lighthouses,
The lighthouse
the
from the sky.
lighthouse's boundary. Yeah.
Yes.
Just a thin line, and after that you can wash off your brush and just with a wet brush put a thin layer of not water. There's no water. You just blur out that gray line, but on the inner part of the lighthouse, not on the outer part. So what happens? The darkest line is still on the outside. Okay.
Done.
Then what happens? Your lighthouse retains its shape. Its shape comes back. Okay. But good. Let me see who else has finished. Janita? Anybody else? Nita?
Yeah, but mine has come
I need to redo. It's really
very light. It has come. Can you see?
Yes, I can see it. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. You've been a little hesitant about putting the darker shade. So don't worry. But you know what? So, Nita, this is the good part about it. When you go light, there is scope for darkening. Okay. Maybe not on this paper. On this paper, it may not be so forgiving. What you can do is you can go with the same light shade and then add one more layer of that light shade on top of your sky. I think it's the sky that you're finding light. What are you finding light?
The whole picture looks a little washed. I don't know.
It may be because your sky is still a little light. Okay. And the other thing I'm thinking is light is the roof. The roof of the house.
The roof of the
could have been.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I need
so
to
this
put
can be corrected. You've not made a mistake yet. When it
Okay.
can't be corrected, you could consider still a mistake. But I'm saying when you can correct, go ahead and let's add a little more depth. Put in that
Okay.
little dark. And if you want to add a dot more of black to your gray mix so that
Yeah.
it becomes dark, do that. Do that.
Okay. Because
So
yours
try
look
and
very,
see.
your dark looks really dark, and mine is
Yeah,
still little washed out.
correct,
So
correct, correct.
I'll add a little bit more of black in it.
But go with a thin brush. Go
Okay.
with a thin brush, because now what's going to happen is if you put in a big blob of black, we
Yeah.
can't correct that.
Yes.
Okay, so go with a thinner brush and do it gently, do it little by little, and you'll get it. It'll come in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
The sky, if
Jainita,
it's patchy, how do you fix it? My sky is
can't fix.
you
Can't fix on this paper.
can't fix. It's
Can't
very
fix on this paper,
patchy.
Jainita.
It's
Yeah,
like,
don't
no,
worry.
no,
No,
no.
no, no, no. So what you can do, if your sky is light, okay, suppose like how Neeta was saying, your sky was not dark enough, or you felt that you could put more dark, then some correction is possible. Meaning you can go with another wash of the same color, and that will cause the paper to get wet. And after you have wet the paper, put in blobs of slightly darker color on the wet paper. Okay. It could correct. But again, this is largely workable on watercolor paper. On this kind of paper, I don't usually get much chance to correct. I have noticed my personal observation. Okay. So the frustration builds in trying to correct more and more and more. And then finally, you will look at it and say, it was just fine the way it was. Just why did I do this? So knowing that the paper is not forgiving, try not to touch it too much. Okay. Lest you look back and think that it was better the way it was. But what you could do is, if you're brave enough to try this again, try it again and make the corrections. See whether it works. Okay. So
Can I
that will work. That will work better.
this thing, the pen?
Oh,
I don't
very nice. Did you use pencil for this?
No, I use the blue pen. Blue
Blue color pencil?
color pencil, yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's looking very nice. You've got the pits and all quite well. Huh? I didn't even bother with those. Yeah, I didn't even bother with those dots and dashes, which
Do I
Niti
need
usually
to
tells us,
put
no?
a little bit more
Oh,
of the darker? Do
1
I?
minute, Nita, let me just see. Hold on. So here, yeah, you can definitely darken your bottom. The bottom could be as dark as your stem. Look at the stem. You've got the
Yes, yeah,
dark nicely on the
yeah,
stem. Try
yeah.
and get that same darkness on the entire bottom.
Okay,
Entire bottom. And
got it.
and then lighten it, and blend
Okay,
it. Okay.
okay.
So the entire bottom and even your shadow, get it
Yeah,
as dark as your blue pencil will allow.
okay, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. But it's looking good.
Thank you.
Good. So monochromes are great fun. Huh? By the way, I will just show you just before we wrap up.
Susan,
I
I was
love to play
just
with.
one sec. I was
Was it?
asking
Yeah.
about the background to get the white edge. Is it okay to color it in like I did on the pear? Because I didn't know how to get a white edge.
Okay, let me see. Hold on. You're talking about which part?
You know, the white edge of where the light comes. I was asking at that
Yes.
time, I think you didn't hear that. Can I do a
Okay.
backgroundy thing? Because I didn't know how to get the white edge.
You can.
So
You can
that's what I did
lightly
on this
shade.
bit. Yeah.
Yes. And you got it. And you got your
Yeah.
white edge.
So
It's
I
come
just
very
did
well.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Thank
can
you.
So
erase
that
it
is bound
also,
to
no?
happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can erase it also with
Erase what?
to get the
The
highlight.
line that you have drawn on the right
Yeah,
side.
but if there's nothing behind it, how do you differentiate where the edge of the pear is? You know what I
So
mean?
it will become the pear will become part of the background. That part of the pear will become part of the background. So you can't see the shape of it. But you're right. You have to assess the picture to see whether now in this picture, if you're paying attention to the picture alone, okay, we are not take this thing out of it, our opinion out of it. But the reason we are seeing so much white is because of the dark of the background.
Yes.
Had this, let's say, been a colored photo, maybe the distinction would not have been so evident. Okay. And maybe the white would not appear so white. This is appearing so white only because it's become a black and white photo.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So because now we are taking a black and white photo, you can make this correction by adding the background, like you said. And that background will bring out the light.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you've done is absolutely right on the left side. It's very good.
Thank
So
you.
this is, we have to always remember this, background and foreground, and the light and the play of light and dark. It is very subjective to what you've put in the background and what you have not put in the background. That is very important. So we can't look at a picture and say, I'm not getting the white, I'm not getting the white. Why are you seeing the white in the first place? Ask
Exactly.
yourself the question, why you're seeing the white,
Right.
right? So you will look at the picture and you'll say, I'm not getting the white, and it's still not, I mean, I've made it light, I'm not seeing the white, I'm not seeing the white. That's
Yeah.
because you're seeing the white because of a background, and you did not
Background.
put that background there, right? So keep that